If your last checkup left you staring at a number on a lab sheet that you didn't fully understand, and the word creatinine has been quietly haunting you ever since, I need you to give me the next few minutes of your full attention. Maybe you've noticed that your ankles look a little puffier by the end of the day. Maybe your energy just isn't what it used to be, and you're chalking it up to getting older. Maybe you're finding yourself up at 2 in the morning, then again at 4, making that slow walk to the bathroom. If any of that sounds familiar, please stay with me all the way through, because what I'm about to share could genuinely reshape the way you protect your kidneys for the rest of your life. My name is Dr. Jessica Williams. For more than 2 decades, I've sat knee to knee with patients all across this country, folks in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, good people who walked into my office frightened and overwhelmed, holding a piece of paper they couldn't decode. And almost every week, someone leans forward and asks me the very same thing. Doctor, is there actually anything I can eat that will help my kidneys, or is it already too late? And I want to tell you right now what I tell them. It is not too late. There is absolutely something you can do. But the answer isn't as simple as eat your vegetables, because as you're about to find out, some of the so-called healthiest vegetables in the grocery store can quietly make your situation worse, while 5 specific ones can do the opposite. Let me tell you about a woman I'll call Margaret. She's 68, a retired school teacher from just outside Kansas City, and she came to me last spring with her reading glasses pushed up on her head and a manila folder pressed against her chest like a shield. Her creatinine had crept from a comfortable 0.9 up to 1.5 over about 14 months, and her eGFR had slipped into the low 50s. Her primary care doctor had used the words chronic kidney disease, and from that moment on, Margaret told me, she'd been too scared to eat almost anything. Every website contradicts the last one, she said, and her voice cracked a little. One tells me a food is a miracle, the next tells me it'll put me on dialysis. I feel like I'm being starved by my own fear. I hear that story more often than you could possibly imagine, and it breaks my heart every single time, because so much of that fear is built on outdated advice and half-truths that get passed around online like gospel. So before we get to the first vegetable, I have to clear up a myth that has terrified more of my patients than almost anything else. Somewhere along the way, people got the idea that potassium is the enemy, that anyone with a kidney concern must slash every drop of potassium from their diet or face disaster. And I understand why that belief took hold, but for most people it is simply wrong, and it can actually cause harm. Let me explain what's really going on inside your body. Potassium is one of the most important minerals you have. It relaxes the walls of your blood vessels. It helps counteract the sodium that drives your blood pressure up. And in the earlier stages of kidney disease, it is far more friend than foe. The only time potassium becomes genuinely dangerous is in the advanced stages, stage 4 and stage 5, when your kidneys have lost so much filtering power that potassium starts pooling in the blood, a condition we call hyperkalemia. At that point, and only at that point, your kidney specialist gives you very personal, very specific limits. For the millions of people in stages 1, 2, and 3, cutting potassium blindly out of fear is like throwing away your umbrella because you heard it might flood someday. So who are the real villains here? The true structural damage to your kidneys comes overwhelmingly from refined sugar and processed starch, which flood your bloodstream and essentially caramelize the delicate tissues of your filters over time. Add to that the daily assault of too much alcohol, the casual overuse of over-the-counter painkillers, and the hidden phosphorus additives lurking in dark sodas and packaged foods, and you have a recipe for slow, silent decline. What I'm going to give you today is a way to push back. Real food that actively defends the kidney tissue you still have. Before we get into the first one, I want to ask you a small favor, and it matters more than you might think. If your doctor has told you that your creatinine sits above 1.2 or your eGFR has dropped below 60, take a moment and type that number in the comments below. I ask because kidney disease can be a lonely, quiet struggle, the kind of thing people carry without telling a soul. And when someone scrolls through and sees they're not the only one, that they're standing shoulder to shoulder with thousands of others, it can be the exact bit of courage they needed tonight. All right, let's begin. The first vegetable is one that hardly anyone talks about in kidney conversations. And that's a shame, because it might be one of the most protective things you can put on your plate. Red cabbage. Yes, that humble, deep purple head of cabbage sitting in the produce aisle for $1 or $2. But before I tell you why it matters, let me quickly explain what creatinine actually is, because once you understand it, everything else clicks into place. Your muscles run on a compound called creatine. As your muscles do their everyday work and gradually turn over, that creatine breaks down and leaves behind a waste product. And that waste product is creatinine. Your kidneys are supposed to catch it and flush it out through your urine. When they're healthy, your creatinine stays in a tidy little range, usually somewhere around 0.7 to 1.2 for most adults. But when your kidneys start to struggle, whether from years of quiet high blood pressure, blood sugar swings, or low-grade inflammation you never even felt, they can't keep up. And so that number on your lab sheet starts to rise. It isn't just a number, it's a message. It's your kidneys raising a hand and saying, "I'm falling behind down here." So why red cabbage? 3 reasons. First, it's genuinely low in potassium, only around 170 milligrams in a half-cup serving, which means even as your disease progresses and you have to start budgeting carefully, red cabbage lets you fill your plate without pushing your levels into the danger zone. Second, it's remarkably low in phosphorus, and that matters enormously because as kidneys weaken, they lose the ability to clear excess phosphorus, and that leftover phosphorus starts pulling calcium right out of your bones and depositing it into your arteries. That's a big part of why kidney patients face such elevated heart risk. Red cabbage gives you real nourishment without piling on that burden. And third, red cabbage is absolutely loaded with anthocyanins, the natural pigments that give it that gorgeous purple color. These are powerful anti-inflammatory compounds. And here's what most people don't realize. Kidney disease isn't just a passive clog in the pipes. It's an active, ongoing inflammatory fire smoldering in the kidney tissue itself. Anthocyanins help calm that fire. They can't rebuild what's already been scarred over, but they can shield what's still working. Now, here's a mistake I watch people make all the time. They take this beautiful cabbage and they boil it into gray, limp mush. And when you do that, you dump most of those precious anthocyanins right down the drain. The best way to eat it is raw and thinly shredded into a crisp slaw, or barely sautéed for just 2 or 3 minutes, so it keeps its snap and its brilliant purple color. If it turns a dull bluish gray, that's your signal that you cooked the medicine right out of it. 3 or 4 servings a week is a wonderful, realistic target. Keep that cabbage in mind because it's going to become the base of something I'll show you later. That brings us to the second vegetable, and I can already hear some of you sighing when I say it. Cauliflower. I know, but stay with me because there's a specific way to prepare it that dramatically multiplies its benefit, and most people are throwing that benefit straight into the sink. Cauliflower got famous as a low-carb swap for rice and mashed potatoes, but for your kidneys, its real value runs much deeper. First, it is one of the lowest potassium, lowest phosphorus vegetables that exists in nature, which is exactly why kidney foundations put it near the top of every safe food list. Every unnecessary milligram you can spare your kidneys gives them a little more room to breathe. Second, cauliflower is rich in special sulfur compounds that, once you chew and digest them, transform into biologically active molecules that switch on your body's own internal antioxidant defenses. And that matters because oxidative stress is precisely what destroys those tiny filtering units inside your kidneys, the nephrons. You've got about 1 million of them in each kidney, and here's a hard truth. Once a nephron is scarred over and gone, it does not grow back. Your kidneys can't regenerate the way your skin or your liver can, so protecting the ones you still have is the whole game. And third, cauliflower is a solid source of choline, a nutrient that supports the integrity of the very filtration barrier that, when it starts leaking, sends proteins spilling into your urine. That foamy, bubbly urine some of you have noticed in the morning? That's protein escaping through a damaged filter. And it's not a harmless side note. It's an independent driver of faster decline. But here's the preparation trap. Most folks chop up a whole head, boil it for 15 minutes, and pour the cloudy water down the sink, which strips out the vitamins and the very compounds we're after. For kidney protection, roast it with a touch of olive oil or steam it gently. Now, one exception. If you're in stage 4 or 5 and your doctor has told you your potassium is dangerously high, boiling and discarding the water is actually a deliberate technique to pull potassium out so you can eat it safely. That's a conversation to have with a renal dietitian, not a decision to make alone. I want to tell you about another patient, a gentleman I'll call Frank, 72, from a small town in Georgia. Stage 3A kidney disease alongside diabetes that had never quite been under control, and a creatinine hovering at a worrying 1.8. Frank was trying so hard to be healthy that he was practically living on spinach and baked potatoes, and every single time his potassium came back alarmingly high. He was losing weight, losing hope, and honestly, losing his relationship with food. So we sat down and rebuilt his plate around the very vegetables I'm describing today. We turned cauliflower into a creamy mash to replace his potatoes. We folded shredded red cabbage into his lunches. Over 6 months, with careful hydration and his medications, his creatinine settled back down to 1.6. But what I remember most is what he told me at that follow-up. "Doc," he said, "for the first time in 2 years, I can sit down to supper without being afraid of my own dinner plate." Diet didn't cure Frank, but diet was the difference between sliding downhill and holding steady. Aim for 3 to 5 servings of cauliflower a week, roasted or lightly steamed. Now let's talk about a vegetable that makes people nervous the moment I mention it. Number 3, garlic. When I bring up garlic, patients often flinch. They've been told that because their kidneys are struggling, they need to avoid anything strong, sharp, or pungent, as if garlic might somehow overwork the system. But the science tells a completely different story. Garlic isn't just safe for the vast majority of kidney patients, it's one of the most actively protective foods on Earth. The magic comes from a compound that forms only when you crush or chop raw garlic. It doesn't even exist in an intact clove. It's created the moment the cell walls rupture and 2 hidden ingredients collide. And it is a genuine powerhouse. Anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and most importantly for your kidneys, proven to gently lower blood pressure and calm inflammation in your blood vessels. And here's why that's such a big deal. The number 1 cause of kidney disease in this country is diabetes. The number 2 cause is high blood pressure. When your blood pressure runs high year after year, it acts like a pressure washer, blasting the fragile little vessels that feed your nephrons, slowly tearing them apart. So anything safe that lowers your pressure even a little is directly protecting your kidneys. Large reviews of the research have found that consistent garlic intake can lower blood pressure by roughly 4 to 8 points. Now, you might think that sounds modest, but stretched across months and years, that sustained little bit of relief can be the exact difference between a nephron surviving or dying. Garlic has also shown promising ability to slow the scarring process that gradually replaces healthy kidney tissue with useless fibrous tissue. But here's the part almost no one tells you, and it's the whole secret. That beneficial compound is fragile and heat sensitive. If you toss raw garlic straight into a hot pan, the heat destroys the enzyme before the good stuff can even form. You get the aroma and lose the medicine. The trick is this. Crush or finely mince your raw garlic, and then let it just sit on the cutting board for a full 10 minutes before it ever touches heat. That resting window lets the reaction finish, locking in the benefit, and once it's formed, it holds up to gentle cooking far better. 1 to 2 fresh cloves a day is right for most people, and please, Garlic powder and especially garlic salt are not the same thing. That salt is smuggling in sodium your kidneys don't need. One quick and important warning. Because garlic naturally thins the blood a little, if you take a prescription blood thinner, talk to your doctor before ramping up your intake. Hold on to that 10-minute rule, because we're going to use that garlic again very soon. Vegetable number 4 is one I call the precision vegetable, because it gives you an enormous amount of nutritional value with almost no cost to your kidneys. The red bell pepper. The standout feature is its staggering vitamin C content. A single medium red bell pepper delivers more than double an adult's daily requirement. Now, some of you just tensed up because you've heard vitamin C can turn into oxalates and cause kidney stones. Let me put that to rest. That risk applies almost entirely to high-dose synthetic supplements, the kind people swallow in 1,000 or 2,000 milligram pills. Vitamin C from whole, natural vegetables simply doesn't carry that same danger for most people, and the benefit is very real. Vitamin C is one of your body's foundational antioxidants, and it protects the delicate cells lining that intricate web of capillaries where your kidneys actually do their filtering. Research has repeatedly found that people with lower vitamin C levels tend to have more kidney dysfunction and faster decline. But the red pepper has a second gift, lycopene, a fat-soluble antioxidant famous for protecting the heart and keeping arteries flexible. Now, you might know tomatoes are rich in lycopene too, but here's the problem for a kidney patient. A single tomato can carry over 400 milligrams of potassium, which makes it tough to fit into a careful diet. A red bell pepper gives you that same antioxidant payload while keeping potassium far more modest. And it's essentially phosphorus-free. On top of that, its fiber feeds the good bacteria in your gut. And that connection between your gut and your kidneys is one of the most exciting frontiers in medicine right now, which I'll explain in detail shortly. For preparation, raw gives you the most vitamin C, so sliced peppers as an afternoon snack are ideal. If you prefer them cooked, a quick 2 or 3 minute sauté beats a long roast that cooks the vitamin C away. Half a pepper to a full one a day is a lovely, colorful goal, and its natural sweetness makes it a joy even when age or medications have dulled your sense of taste. That leaves the 5th and final vegetable, and I want to spend a little extra time here because it carries a strange and misunderstood reputation. Asparagus. Some of you already know that asparagus can give your urine a distinctive smell. Others have heard it acts as a natural diuretic and worry it might strain the kidneys. Let's take these one at a time. First, that gentle diuretic effect is real, and it comes from a unique compound the vegetable was actually named after. Now think about what happens as kidney disease advances. Many people start retaining fluid, noticing swelling in their feet and ankles, and that extra fluid strains the heart and drives blood pressure up. A gentle, food-based nudge to release some of that fluid can be genuinely helpful, encouraging urine flow that carries out waste, including creatinine. But here's a serious caution. If you're already taking a certain type of prescription diuretic, or your potassium is already high, you must check with your doctor before making asparagus a daily habit. Second, asparagus is one of the very few foods that delivers ready-made glutathione, often called the body's master antioxidant. And glutathione has been studied specifically for its ability to shield fragile kidney cells from toxic injury, whether from the contrast dyes used in scans or from the everyday oxidative wear of chronic disease. Third, asparagus provides folate, a B vitamin essential for making red blood cells, which matters because anemia is one of the most exhausting complications of kidney disease. As your kidneys weaken, they make less of the hormone that tells your bone marrow to produce red blood cells, and fatigue sets in. As for that famous smell, let me reassure you completely. It comes from the harmless breakdown of a natural compound into sulfur molecules, and it is a sign of perfectly normal metabolism, not damage or irritation. In fact, because of a genetic quirk, some people can't even smell it at all. If you notice it, don't be alarmed. Your body is doing exactly what it's supposed to. To prepare it, snap off the tough woody ends, drizzle with a little olive oil, and here's where that rested minced garlic comes back into play. Toss it right on top and roast at a moderate heat for 10 to 15 minutes until tender but still crisp. 2 to 4 ounces, 3 or 4 times a week, is an excellent target. Now that we've walked through all 5, we need to zoom out, because your kidneys don't respond to a single food. They respond to the whole picture. So let me add 2 more quiet heroes to your plate. First, celery. For years, people dismissed it as nothing but crunchy water, but alongside that water sits a class of compounds that help relax the muscle in your artery walls, letting your vessels open up and your pressure ease down, which takes real strain off your kidney filters. Celery also acts as a mild, non-irritating flush, gently increasing urine volume to help carry out waste. And second, the ordinary onion, white, yellow, or red, one of the richest sources of a flavonoid called quercetin. When a kidney is chronically stressed, its healthy cells start transforming into scar-producing cells, and quercetin has been shown to help interrupt that transformation. Onions are also low in potassium, which makes them the perfect flavor base so you never have to reach for the salt shaker. Let me show you how this all fits together on a real plate. Picture it. Half of your plate should be these low potassium, low phosphorus, antioxidant-rich vegetables. A bed of shredded raw red cabbage, a scoop of roasted cauliflower, some crisp raw pepper slices. By filling up on these, you're doing 2 things at once: flooding your body with protective compounds and physically crowding out the processed junk that harms you. For breakfast, instead of a sugary pastry that spikes your blood sugar and stresses your filters, try 2 eggs scrambled with plenty of that rested garlic and chopped onion, next to a small handful of berries. For lunch, a big crisp salad of shredded red cabbage, sliced red pepper, and diced celery topped with wild-caught salmon and dressed simply with lemon and good olive oil. For dinner, a piece of baked white fish, a generous scoop of cauliflower mashed with a little garlic, and a few spears of roasted asparagus. That is not deprivation. That is medicine you can look forward to. Now let me open that door I promised earlier, the connection between your gut and your kidneys, because this is where the exciting new research lives. When your kidneys are damaged, some of the waste they'd normally flush out backs up into your bloodstream and leaks across your intestinal wall into your gut. That shifts the whole chemistry of your digestive system, killing off your good bacteria and letting harmful bacteria take over. Those bad bacteria feed on the waste and produce toxins that leak right back into your blood and travel straight to your remaining nephrons, poisoning them further. It's a vicious loop. Kidney damage harms the gut, and the damaged gut harms the kidneys. How do we break it? By deliberately feeding the good bacteria. Certain beneficial strains can actually consume that backed-up waste and break it down inside your gut before it ever turns toxic, so it leaves through your bowels instead of burdening your kidneys. You feed them with fermented foods, unsweetened kefir, plain yogurt with live cultures, sauerkraut or kimchi. In a very real sense, a healthy gut becomes a second kidney, lightening the load on the filters you have left. Which brings us to the single most misunderstood topic in kidney health: protein. For decades, patients were told bluntly to just stop eating it, and that advice has left far too many seniors frail, weak, and losing muscle they couldn't afford to lose. The truth is more nuanced. When you eat protein, your body produces a waste product your kidneys must clear, so eating too much does strain them. But eating too little is just as dangerous, because your body will start breaking down its own muscle to survive, and that flooding of your bloodstream actually drives your creatinine higher. So the goal was never 0. The goal is high quality in moderate amounts. For most early to mid-stage patients, that means focusing on clean sources like wild-caught fish, which brings anti-inflammatory omega-3s along for the ride, and eggs, which your body uses with very little waste. And it means avoiding processed meats like bacon, deli slices, and hot dogs, which are pumped full of the sodium and phosphorus additives that hit your kidneys hardest. Always confirm your exact protein target with your own medical team. Now, I would be failing you if I didn't warn you about the honest mistakes I watch good, well-meaning people make every week. The ones that quietly undo all their hard work. The first is the green smoothie trap. Someone gets scared, buys a powerful blender, and dumps in 3 cups of raw spinach, a banana, and coconut water. Then drinks it down in 5 minutes, thinking they've done something wonderful. In reality, they've just delivered a massive concentrated jolt of potassium and oxalates that a struggling kidney simply cannot handle all at once. Whole chewed food is far safer because the fiber slows everything to a trickle your kidneys can manage. The second is the spinach overdose. Spinach is genuinely a superfood for a healthy heart, but for a kidney patient, it's loaded with both potassium and oxalates, and large daily servings can form crystals that lodge in your kidney's tiny tubes. Swap it for gentler greens like arugula or the red cabbage we started with. The third is hidden sodium and phosphorus. The moment you reach for canned vegetables, soy sauce, garlic salt, or boxed broth, you've undone the natural benefit, because those products are preserved with additives your body absorbs almost completely. Season with fresh herbs, lemon, vinegar, and that rested garlic instead. The fourth is underhydrating out of fear, when exhausted people stop drinking water in the afternoon just to stop the nighttime bathroom trips. But mild dehydration concentrates the waste in your blood and can actually make your creatinine spike on your next lab. Hydrate evenly through the day according to your doctor's guidance for your stage. And the fifth mistake is the one I plead with you to avoid: going it alone. I know how tempting it is to change everything tomorrow and surprise your doctor with a great report. Please don't. Kidney disease is deeply individual, and food genuinely interacts with your medications. Changing your potassium can alter how certain blood pressure pills work. Changing your fluid can throw off a diuretic dose. So write these foods down, bring the list to your next appointment, and build this plan together with your doctor and a renal dietitian. That partnership between the work you do at home and the monitoring they do in the clinic is the real formula for protecting your kidneys for the long haul. I'll leave you with one last gentle habit that gives your kidneys something they almost never get: a rest. Every time you eat, even something healthy, your kidneys go to work filtering it. They're a filter that never takes a vacation. By keeping your meals within a roughly 8-hour window each day and giving your body a longer overnight break, you allow inflammation to cool and let your kidneys shift into quiet repair mode. Always run this by your doctor first, especially if you take medication with food. We covered so much today. We unpacked red cabbage and cauliflower for their remarkably low potassium and phosphorus and their power against inflammation. We uncovered garlic's blood pressure and anti-scarring benefits with that all-important 10-minute rule. We explored the red bell pepper as a precision source of antioxidants, and asparagus for its gentle fluid support and its master antioxidant. And we built the bigger picture around them: celery, onion, the gut connection, the protein balance, and the value of giving your kidneys a true rest. If this gave you a clearer and more hopeful path forward, I'd be so grateful if you'd let me know down in the comments which of these foods surprised you the most, and which one you plan to talk over with your doctor first. I read those comments myself, and your willingness to share your story might be the very spark that gives someone else the courage to keep going. You are not alone in this. Your kidneys have worked silently and faithfully for you every second of your life. It's time to give them something beautiful in return. My name is Dr. Jessica Williams, and I'll see you in the next one.